it's great for me that you give me the possibility to be virtual with you. It's really a great pity that I'm not personal with you. I would wish, but especially our region in Dresden has very low vaccination rates and really is a COVID hotspot in Germany, and we have a lot of issues here around and a lot of busy times in the hospital. That's why I'm very happy that I'm able to talk about something in the future, something innovative, and present it to you, and not to talk about COVID today. First of all, I would like to start with my disclosures, but you see it here, but for the topic discussed today, I have no disclosures to report. So we know that multiple sclerosis has evolved a lot. So for example, you can see here what was the treatment 100 years ago and what is now the treatment available, and it was in parallel with, of course, milestones of scientific research. And we see it very nicely. We can recognize this if we are looking at the disease-modifying treatments 11 years ago and now. And it's really, we have a lot of, plenty of different treatments which we can use, and our life is so complicated that it's really difficult probably to identify the right patients for the right patient for the individual treatment. So the game we have, or the challenge we have, is not a very simple one, but I think it's a quite complicated one, because we are now playing chess with a lot of different treatments available, and we can see it very nicely here on this cartoon on the next page. That is our challenge. We have, of course, a very complex challenge to fight against NS. We have, of course, the time aspect. We have different treatment players available, and now we have, of course, find a way to treat multiple sclerosis in this way. Multiple sclerosis is a very difficult disease because it's very variable. We have a lot of symptoms. That's why the first challenge is, of course, to cope with this complex disease. Because you can see here the pioneering data from Christian Confereux published in the New England Journal of Medicine. So that is the EDSS follow-up of 30 years, published now more than 20 years ago in the New England Journal of Medicine. So MS is difficult to predict and monitor. And that is very much not in line with what we are doing at the moment. So we have treatments, and most of the treatments, they follow the rule one size fits all. We don't have personalized medicine. We have evidence-based medicine, and evidence-based medicine is a statistical approach using the rule of large numbers, resulting in statistically meaningful conclusions. But there is a very famous physician, probably you don't know him in Greece, so Hippocrates, which I think was the start of modern medicine in Europe. And he already told us that it's far more important to know what person the disease has than what disease the person has. And that, I think it's very important. We have to move forward if we would like to personalized medicine. And that, I think, is what we would like to go. We don't like to go trial and error medicine, try this drug, and then at the end, patient has lost significant time. We would like to go a personalized approach, which offers the best treatment for for the individual patient. That's why I think we can learn a lot from moving to oncology, because oncology, you can see here on the left side, 60 years ago, when we had lymphoma or leukemia, it was just the disease of the blood. And at that time, we have a 5-year survival rate of 0%. Now, it has really evolved. So we have types of leukemia, types of lymphoma. Now, of course, with individual treatment approaches, with genetic approaches, and by phenotyping this disease, it was really possible that the 5-year survival rate has increased to 70%. And I think we have to have the same idea in dealing with multiple sclerosis. So we have to phenotype the disease. So at the moment, a lot of patients, they have the same They are believed to have one MS, the others MS. So everyone, you see here the black figures of persons. Yeah, everything is the same. But if we look in more detail, probably we can define subtypes of multiple sclerosis. But that is, of course, not possible if we look only at EDSS or relapse rate. So we have really to be more sophisticated to this. And that's why I would like to show why we need this vision of the digital twin. The digital twin contains different parameters. One important set of parameters are data. Yeah? Paraclinical data, clinical data, multi-omics data, patient-reported outcomes, contextual parameters. That is needed to really generate the MS fingerprint where we could use artificial intelligence to move forward. And that's why, first of all, it's necessary that we have to measure. So neurological function is a priori not measurable. That's why we have to develop tools how we can measure it. And just a short introduction. So we are working in this field for several years to make neurological function in MS patient measurable. One thing is, for example, here to look at walking. So that is the mobility analysis which is performed in our center. So every patient, it's not research, that's really clinical practice, gets this multidimensional walking assessments at least once a year, where we have, of course, different walking functions. And at the end, we get you can see here on the left side, you get a quite nice dashboard where you see the function which is there, and the feedback of the patient, which you can see on the right side, is quite positive. So we ask the patient for the patient-reported experience, and they understand, if they do this measurement, they understand that it's very crucial to monitor and to phenotype disease. But it's not only walking, it's, for example, other neurological functions. Every patient entering our practice has to pass a neurological functional test using the iPad. So when I see a patient or my colleague, we have already neurological functional testing available, the processing speed, visual acuity. So all this information is already available if I move there. And yesterday we started a step further on that we still collect the patient information at home. Of course, you know that we have sensors available and that we can use the smartphone for this. And we have started a trial where we would like to overcome this phenomenon that we have that usually if we collect only information when the patient is in our center, and that of course makes it invisible what could happen continuously. And by having a mobile monitoring, a symptom checker or health test available using, for example, the patient's smartphone, we can be successful. And since yesterday, we have implemented this Connectome app in our center, that every patient is doing a continuous recording of the function, and this is linked to our database. And we hope that, especially for the continuous recording of our patient, we will get important data. But it's not only this, but we try to make simple neuropsychological tests. That is here an iPad test, testing cognitive executive function, implementing a dual task test where you have two different types of signals, a high tone, a low tone, and two letters, and you have four possibilities to respond. And this is really a test where you can differentiate very well. It's not a screening test, it's really a test where you can measure neurological function. And then last but not least, of course, the MRI. So since several years, we have a standardized MRI protocol together with Siemens. We have a quantitative approach to measure this, and I will show you on the next page. So that is, for example, the MRI report we offer to the patient. It's not texty, but we have all the important quantitative information. So total lesion volume, brain parenchymal fraction. We have whether you have new lesions. So what was the change over time? Where are the lesions? Yeah. So we have this information available, and by having this data set, I think you will understand that it's possible to phenotype patients. And this is collected in our database. We are working on for 20 years now the MSDS system, which was developed, which was one of the first software, of course, it has further developed, and there all the information is integrated. And that is, of course, important because here, in addition to the clinical information, the biobank, so it's, of course, beyond this lecture, but of course, our data collection has, of course, all biobanking as well included, and this information is then available as well to be included in the data set. And then, of course, there is then a very elaborated analysis structure. So if you phenotype, then this data are analyzed by of course, phenotyping, by neural networks to have it there. But I will come to it a little bit later, how we differentiate. What is the other thing which is important? It's not only collecting data, but we would like to improve quality. And if you like to improve quality and to check whether the patient is treated in the right way, we need the documentation of procedures. So we are working since many years, we are working in the field of clinical pathways. We are generating digital clinical pathways to assist physician, to assist the patient and to have the optimal workup, so that the diagnostic workup is optimized, that the treatment is optimized. And here's, for example, on the left side, you can see that is, for example, a flow chart about processes we have for all procedures, for all settings in our center. We have a flow chart where all the relevant information is inside, and how we can differentiate it. And by this one, we get a very complex level. You can see on the other side, we have, of course, healthcare needs. We have then a view on network process quality, and we have, of course, the different levels we can take into account. And the advantage of this digital clinical pathways integrated in the digital twin, I will come in a minute, it's very helpful because this digital phenotype, it's an agile marker for personalized precision medicine, and it's a learning system where we can enter the data. The data can change the system, and we involve the patient as well in this learning healthcare system. Yeah, and that's why, for example, in the digital twin has a specific patient portal, so the patient can access the information. It's very important that we get the patient on board, because that is clue to really set up the optimal pathway. The patient has to be partner of our treatment in this setting. And that is the project we are running as a European project at the moment. So we have still 2 years to go, but the dream is really to have a quality path structure, and this structure, this pathway, is followed by the physician and in tandem by the patient as well. And the system is telling you, like, for example, a checklist, a digital checklist, or like a software on your mobile phone. So when should be your next MRI? What are the results? What are the lab reports? And what is the actual quality of your treatment and of your diagnostic workup in the morning? So this portal is an important component. For example, it's like going to the airport. Yeah, if you come to our center. So before you come to your real visit in our center, you have to check in. By the check-in, you get all the information. When is your appointment? Which type of examinations will be done? A blood draw, gait analysis, neurological examination. You get questionnaires about what is important for you, what prescriptions do you need, and everything is prepared. That when I see the patient, he's already prepared, and all this check-in information is there, and I can save significant amount of time. On the other side, it's very helpful for the patient when we have collected all the results together. He has a digital checkout, so 4 or 5 days later, he get all the information from the visit. So what was your blood values? What was the monitoring? What will be done next? So he will receive, and this integration and this holistic concept, you will understand. I think it's quite helpful, and it, of course, assists the involvement of the patient, and it's helpful. So altogether, we collect data and procedures to integrate this in this MS cockpit, where the physician can drive together with the patient and find the right way of treatment. Yeah, and that at the end, of course, the dream we have is if we characterize a patient, if we collect patient in this, if we collect the information how the treatment outcomes are in this phenotype patient, we will get an estimate how in the individual patient we can optimize treatment as well. And for this purpose, and I will come to the end, I will introduce you shortly to this concept, which is very well known in technical disciplines, the so-called digital twin. So the digital twin is, I think, a twin, or if you have, for example, a procedure or something, a car. So this type of thing or this procedure is rebuilt in the digital. It's created as a digital visualization. Yeah, and it could be a car, it could be a procedure. This digital twin infrastructure, you can see it quite nicely here in the next way. You have a process. This process is analyzed. The data are collected. Then this data, which are put in the digital space, they are analyzed, aggregated, and then brought back. So that means that if you have, for example, a digital twin of a procedure or of an object, yeah, you have not to test everything with the object itself, but you can use the virtual picture of this procedure to optimize and to look for outcomes. Yeah, and that is a process which is very well known in industry, and we have now the first approaches where it's used in other disciplines, like, for example, oncology or cardiology. Yeah, so it has not been so well developed in the field of neurology. Nevertheless, we have, as I have shown you, we have a lot of data and we have a lot of procedures which can put into the infrastructure. Now here again, the concept is if you go here to measure, then to imagine, identify, pilot, industrialize, scale, and then to go back to it. And at the end, there is an improvement in quality, which means. So what does it mean concretely for the MS patient? So the MS patient is characterized, of course, by important clinical data, which are necessary to phenotype him. On the other side, the MS patient is defined by procedures. Yeah. Personalized clinical pathways, monitoring, a quality assessment, which is very important to offer the patient the best available treatment, especially if a lot of different treatment options are available. And this data from the patient is put in the digital space. And of course, we have to find ways of innovative data collection, what I've shown you. We have to integrate the personalized clinical pathways. We have to integrate other HCPs and patients. It's crucial that we generate an MS dashboard so that we have a dashboard where all this information is available for the patient. So it's very important that physicians and the patient see all relevant data. So if you have a paper file, yeah, you will not find relevant data. That is the charming thing if you have a high data density in the digital twin. So by this infrastructure, you can really feel all the data. And then at the end, this data can guide you as part of a clinical decision support system. And that means at the end, so the system can tell you, for example, in the individual patient, if this information is there, if this individual digital twin is integrated in a learning health system of a lot of digital twins, yeah, where all the very detailed information is stored, yeah, we can go for prediction and simulation. Yeah, so that, of course, it's a little bit a vision. Yeah, but of course, if you have significant data accumulation, then of course you could run a prediction, and you could hopefully individualize treatment in a better way. Where we are, so at the moment we have been quite successful in the collection of the parameters to develop structures to collect data and procedures, to have a database approach for quality management, personalized clinical pathway. But of course, we are now here in the middle, where of course a lot of challenges are there. Of course, if you have a lot of data, data sovereignty and governance, data privacy and security, of course, it's very crucial, because this information is so dense that it really has to be there. The transparency and, of course, the integration of the patient are the data science challenges. On the other side, of course, the development of algorithms. So we are not talking about like it's, for example, done in the big registries like MS-Base to look for EDSS and relapse rate. We have much more granular information, and that means, of course, that the analysis is much more complex. We need infrastructure, we need algorithms which are able to handle complex data. How to visualize lots of this data, I think it's a challenge, and how to evaluate data quality that is there. And then, of course, at the moment, I think it's still working in parallel. It has not been only in part. So the visualization, data collection, it's working in clinical practice. But of course, before we have the possibility to integrate into clinical practice, I think it will be a challenge. So that what we see here on this picture, I think we cannot achieve it now, but our plan is, and we are quite good in time, that hopefully in 9 years, we will have really the chance that we can simulate and that we can identify together with the patient the best treatment option. That we can we don't have to go for trial and error medicine. That we will define it. But of course, it depends on quality. We have to increase, in principle, our information we collect for the patient. And you see, it's a lot of work, but I think it's up to us neurologists to start with it, because I believe, and you know it very well, that MS is not characterized only by EDSS and relapse rate, and that's why I think we have a lot of work to do, and it's very nice to do this together. So that is here all the activity we have here in our center. It's a pleasure, especially if you have a vision and you can follow this vision. And I was very happy and thankful to be able to present it today. Thank you very much for your patience and for listening to me.